There was no glory in this. I hadn't asked for this crap. Trouble had come to me in big dark swarms. The good and the just were like gold dust in the city. I had no illusions. I was not one of them. I was no hero.
Over the past couple of months, I've gone back to back on all 3 Max Payne games. I also went on my honeymoon, but you didn't come here for that. It's been over 10 years since I played Max Payne 3, and even longer since I played the first 2. So I wanted to go back to see if they were as amazing as I remember. Spoiler alert, they were. The games draw heavy inspiration from hard-boiled noir fiction and John Woo Gun Fu, while treading the line between video game and graphic novel. But they didn't just ride the wave of early 2000s cinematic gaming, they helped to define it. At that time, Max Payne became the reason people upgraded their PCs or went out to buy a PS2 or the OG thick boy Xbox after seeing this insane advert. But stitched beneath the stylized action of each game is a much darker thread, the unraveling of Max himself. His story is one of grief, obsession, and the slow erosion of his identity. Across 3 games, we watch him lose everything, fight to make it mean something, and ultimately ask whether there's anything left to save. And all of this happens in super sexy slow motion. This is the story of Max Payne, from revenge to ruin. It's 1998 and Max is living the perfect life. A wife, a newborn daughter, and a home in the suburbs. But in a single night, that dream is shattered. Max, serving as a detective in the NYPD, returns home to his family, discovering that something is very wrong. He answers a ringing phone where a woman asks if this is the Payne residence, and once Max confirms this, she hangs up, leaving you to explore the rest of the house while the harrowing sounds of screams and gunshots echo through the halls. On the walls of his home, we see the word Valkyr spray-painted alongside pictures of syringes and graffiti. This is a new designer drug, and the junkies in this house have it pulsing through their veins. In the first of many references to Norse mythology, Valkyr relates to the Valkyrie, female figures that would guide the souls of the dead to Odin's Hall Valhalla, something that becomes far more poignant the deeper we go. Max quickly dispatches the intruders, but it all happens too late. These events trigger Max's transfer to the DEA, where he would work as an undercover operative within the Punchinello crime family. It's here he learns that they are the ones responsible for the trafficking of Valkyr. We pick back up in 2001, where Max has been slowly working his way through the chain of command within the mob to find the source of the drug. He has only 2 contacts within the DEA who know of his undercover work, and when one of them, BB, asks to meet the other, Alex Boulder, in Roscoe Street Station, he thinks nothing of it. But when he arrives at the station, he learns that this is anything but a straightforward meet-up with the boys. The halls of the subway are filled with mobsters in the middle of some kind of criminal operation. It turns out it's an abandoned part of the station that's directly linked to the vault of the bank, and the mob are rigging the tunnels with explosives to blow into it. This opening level is actually your first exposure to one of the greatest combat mechanics born in this era, bullet time.
Einstein was right. Time is relative to the observer. When you're looking down the barrel of a gun, time slows down. Your whole life flashes by, heartbreak and scars. Stay with it, and you can live a lifetime in that split second.
Running on the adrenaline meter here, triggering bullet time slows down the world around you, allowing you to dodge bullets and make precise shots in tricky situations or when massively outnumbered. While the term bullet time was actually coined during the development of The Matrix, Max Payne's use of slow motion was based on John Woo's gunplay sequences known as Gun Fu. I know guns. Tons of games have used bullet time since then, but in terms of leaving a legacy, if you think bullet time, you think Max Payne. Using the mob's explosives to blast your way out of the station, you tie up with DEA agent Alex Boulder. The pair discuss Jack Lupino's involvement in the operation, another member of the Punchinello crime family, but in the background, this Neo-looking motherfucker can be seen creeping up on Alex with the limpest wrist I've ever seen.
Alex? Alex!
There was nothing I could do. He was dead. I could tell by the empty, accusing stare of his eyes.
And probably on account of all the blood on the floor and the walls. Alex's death is pinned on Max by the NYPD, thanks to the mob who now know he's a cop. But none of this matters. We have a new lead in Jack Lupino.
Lupino ran his racket of sex, drugs, and contract killings from a sleazy hotel in a slum block of tenements. Lupino thought he could get us by taking Alex out and leaving me to take the fall for it. All he had gotten was my attention.
We head to both the hotel and the apartments, working our way through lower level henchmen, where it becomes pretty clear that, despite having the bullet time mechanic in our back pocket, this game's pretty fucking hard. I lost count of how many times I got instantly deleted by even the crappiest of bad guys, and I even managed to die by my own hand a few times. Oh, fucking hell. There's a really cool Pulp Fiction reference where you enter an apartment where some dude is in the bathroom and he's left his Ingram on the kitchen counter. In the movie, Butch picks up the gun and camps outside the bathroom waiting for Vincent to come out before unloading a clip into him. I wanted to recreate this, but when I went to switch to the Ingram to shoot the guy, I accidentally switched to my grenades instead. No!
Oh, fuck. I can't believe you've done this.
We're not the only ones killing Punchinello's goons, by the way. On our way to the apartment building, we see a black Mercedes slowly driving away just before a car explodes and a bomb goes off on the floor of Lupino's apartment. Inside the German whip is Vladimir Lem, the head of the local Russian mob and the fly in Don Punchinello's soup. You eventually track down Lupino's right-hand man, Vinny Gognitti. He spills Lupino's location, a nightclub called Ragnarok. Without sounding like a Norse mythology teacher, this is a reference to Ragnarok, a prophesied series of events that results in a great battle, natural disasters, and the death of gods like Odin and Thor. It ultimately culminates in the destruction and rebirth of the world. This place feels like a pre-launch version of the club from Blade, and is complete with a load of spooky shit. It turns out that because of Lupino's use of Valkyria, he's become pretty unstable, got himself a Mike Tyson tattoo, and begun worshipping the devil. We've all been there. The fight with Lupino is pretty awesome and took me a few tries as the enemies flood in from all angles. But once it's done, we meet the hired killer, Mona Sachs. She's the twin sister of the Mafia Don's wife, Lisa, and she too is working her way through the chain of command of the Punchinello family. Only her reasons are slightly different. It turns out the mob boss is abusing her sister. After agreeing to pool their bullets, Max and Mona share a whiskey. But Mona slips Max something extra so he doesn't endanger Lisa's life on his mission for revenge. Max then slips into one of a few nightmare sequences, which for the time were amazing, and they actually still hold up really well today. They're trippy, haunting echoes of Max's past, as he meanders down never-ending hallways and follows trails of blood, reliving the murder of his family. We wake up tied to a chair in front of Frankie the Bat Niagara, another one of Punchinello's henchmen with a penchant for bludgeoning his victims before dumping the bodies down a sewer drain at Lupino's hotel. He's a pretty nice guy. After taking a couple of bonks to the noggin, Frankie leaves and we manage to break out before heading back in through the front of Lupino's hotel and finding Frankie in the bar. After we shoot him about 1,000 times, we bounce out of the hotel and get tailed by Vladimir in the same black Mercedes we saw driving away from the apartment building earlier. And Vlad has a proposition for Max. Boris Dime, a captain of a cargo ship full of weapons and someone who used to work for Vlad, has gone turncoat to work with Angelo Punchinello, the Don of the family. If he gets his hands on these weapons, both his and Max's lives are about to get a lot more complicated. Vlad wants Max to take out Boris in exchange for enough weapons to start the apocalypse, an offer Max gladly accepts. We then work our way through the dockyard, annihilating anyone goofy enough to stand in our way. There's also some pretty sweet sections here where we have to use a sniper rifle from a crane to take out guards in watchtowers in a sequence that even the devs in Sniper Elite would have been proud of. Finding and killing Boris opens the door to a mega arsenal of weapons that we're encouraged to loot with reckless abandon. However, even with all of this firepower, Max knows he won't be able to get anywhere near the Don without working through his henchmen. To circumvent this, he calls Punchinello to try and get some leverage. He uses the cargo ship and all of the weaponry aboard to arrange to meet with him, which appears to work, arranging to tie up at Casa di Angelo, the Don's restaurant. But when Max arrives, the place is empty. Well, aside from all of the explosives. Managing to piss off the Don to the point where he'd unalive his own restaurant, Max escapes through the sewers and makes his way to Punchinello Manor with Vlad's help. When arriving, we discover that we're actually following in someone else's wake. Someone's killed a bunch of guards and left the back door open, and that someone is Mona Sachs. We continue to stack the bodies high, including fearsome henchmen known as the Trio en route to the head of the table, before confronting Angelo Punchinello for the first and final time.
Punchinello was a pushover. The moment I stepped into the room, he folded like a deuce before a royal flush.
No, wait. I was just doing what I was told. I couldn't refuse. She's someone high up. Government, maybe. I don't know.
He was trying to buy more sand for his hourglass. I wasn't selling any.
No, I told him nothing.
As the Don gets smoked by these killer suits, it's clear that we've not quite reached the tip of the iceberg yet. But before we learn any more, we're injected with a dose of V strong enough to kill.
The mystery witch was a real barracuda. Trouble on dagger heels, a smoking assault rifle in her hand, and an army of killer suits behind her.
How sweet. I get to kill two birds with one stone. Mr. Payne, it's time to show you the benefits of my brew. Be a good boy now.
You'd find that Lady Luck was really a hooker. You were fresh out of cash.
Gentlemen, we're done here. Take me to Cold Steel.
She had just given me an OD of Valkyr. I could feel green fire eating my brains. They turned to steam. They did a fade on me. I'd never had a chance. The witch had got me just as sure as if she put a gun to my head and pulled the trigger.
We now dive into an even trippier nightmare than before, haunted by cries of his wife and constant breaks to the fourth wall. References to Max being in a graphic novel, hearing his own monologues down the phone, and even a mention that Max is in a video game. I love this section. It really gave me that eerie paranoia of the Psycho Mantis boss fight in Metal Gear Solid, and as a complete Metal Gear simp, anything that reminds me of that game can only be a good thing. A vital part of this nightmare, however, is a conversation Max remembers with Michelle. She was working part-time in the district attorney's office when an army dossier found its way to her desk by mistake. Something about a Project Valhalla? She tried to tell Max, but he was too busy to listen, and this oversight is something that would lead directly to her death. The nightmare ends with Max shooting a copy of himself next to the body of his late wife before waking up with two words on his mind: Cold Steel, the only clue that we have. This leads him to Cold Steel Foundry, which is seemingly being guarded by its own private army and a whole host of trip mines. I don't really want to tell you how many times I thought you had to jump through these lasers rather than just shoot them, but it was 7.
You can't do this! My men are still inside!
Do you have any idea why this is called Operation Deadeyes?
Working through the massive building, we learn that in the depths of the foundry lies a secret facility known as Deep 6. It's here we learn the truth about Valkyr. I think he's dead already. The US Army had established a project named Valhalla to engineer a chemical substance that would enhance the stamina and morale of infantry troops. While the project was cancelled in 1995 due to unsatisfactory results, someone kept the thing alive, and they've been doing it for 6 years. The project suffered a data leak and was compromised, so plans were put in place to fix the problem. The data leak in question was the army dossier Michelle had received by accident. Test subjects were given a double dose of Valkyr and dropped off at Max's address 3 years ago, sparking the murder of Max's family and ultimately the entire plot of the Max Payne series. The facility enters a self-destruct sequence as Max disappears into the night, finding himself at a diner in the city. He receives a call from his colleague in the DEA, BB, who asks him to meet at a parking lot to come up with a plan for what to do next. But Max suspects that BB is about to double-cross him after being framed for the murder of Alex Balder. His suspicions confirmed, Max is pinned down in the parking lot with his only option to fight his way through another army of crooks. Once you make your way to the bottom of the garage and kill BB, who is this guy, by the way? I don't know if I made that clear, but it's this guy. You receive a call from someone named Alfred Woden, who asks you to meet him at the Asgard building, and that he can give you the name of your enemy. Meeting up with him, we learn that he's part of a secret society named the Inner Circle, and Woden and his buddies were involved with Project Valhalla as far back as the Gulf War. They then tell you that the woman who drugged Max and was ultimately responsible for the death of his family is Nicole Horn, a key figure in the original project. When funding for Valhalla was cut, she refused to quit, as she knew exactly what was in her hands. As the president of Aesir Corporation, she has more than half the city in her pocket, meaning the Inner Circle can't take her out themselves, and this is where Max comes in. The trade? If Max helps them, they'll ensure all of the charges are dropped, and that Max walks away a free man. The end of the conversation triggers an invasion of more killer suits, who then take out everyone in the Inner Circle. Everyone but Alfred Woden, that is. Fighting out of the Asgard building through wave after wave of killer suits, we eventually find our way out and can head to the final area of the game, Aesir headquarters. Aesir is another reference to Norse mythology, referring to the main group of gods, including Odin, Thor, and Frigg, all of whom are associated with power, war, and governance. Powering through the Matrix-inspired corridor through more bad guys and a grenade launcher corridor of death, we encounter Mona Sachs again.
It will be a cold day in hell before I let a narc cop stop me. Miss Sachs, do your job.
Relax, Max. You're a nice guy. I don't kill nice guys.
You're not bad yourself.
It was different when Horn wanted Punchinello dead, to cut her ties to the Mafia. He deserved to die.
The same goes with her. She's the bad guy here. Her sister was whispering to her in my favor. I knew the appetites of ghosts intimately. They hungered for revenge.
No!
A gunshot boomed and she fell down in slow motion. She was a nice girl, not really a stone-cold killer. And now she was stone-cold dead.
With Mona hesitating to take Max out and being downed in the elevator, we take out the goons that shot her before opening it back up to find that Mona is gone. We ascend ACA HQ, dodging helicopter gunfire and destroying infrastructure as we go before finally finding a route to Horn.
Stop him!
Dodging more helicopter fire, we head to the roof of the building where Horn is trying to escape in one of the helicopters that was trying to wreck us. But not before we destroy an antenna looming precariously above it. And that marks the end of the first game, but it's far from the end of Max's story. He got justice, or something like it, but the shadows didn't lift, they just got longer. And somewhere in the dark, she was waiting. Max Payne 2 arrived a couple of years after the first game, and it stuck to those themes that made the original so great. Graphical fidelity increased. The physics engine now sees world objects tumble around when knocked or shot, and shooting enemies now sees them ragdoll and react to bullets with far more realism. Mechanically, bullet time changed too. In the OG, bullet time slowed down everything in the world, but in Max Payne 2, only the world around Max slows down, meaning he can move and aim at normal speed, which is a massive advantage. Oh, and Max got a new face. Sam Lake relinquished his iconic role as the face of Max Payne from the first game. This time it was given to certified handsome dude Timothy Gibbs. Much like the first game, this opens with a flash forward to a place known only as The Manor, with the NYPD swarming the scene as Max holds Mona Sachs in his arms, confirming that she made it out of the elevator alive in the first game. We then skip back to Max waking up in a hospital bed, barely alive, having suffered multiple gunshots. He pulls out his IV, staggers to his feet, and mutters about a crime he committed and a mysterious she who's now dead. We just don't know who that is yet. Stumbling around the hospital, he hears constant echoes of the past and has flashbacks of moments with Mona. It seems that things got a little bit spicy between Max and Sachs since we've been gone. Walking through the desolate hospital, we encounter the corpse of a janitor before being interrupted by a dude in a balaclava. It's here we get our first look at the new physics engine, and it's still absolutely glorious, even 2 decades later. More flashbacks show Max shooting a mystery woman named Winterson, before we take an elevator down to meet NYPD's Jim Bravura, who gets promptly eviscerated by another dude in a mask.
What the hell?
Crashing down to the basement, we find Winterson's body, and Max confirms it. He was the killer. From here, the timeline straightens out. After the events of the first game, Alfred Woden kept his word. Max walked free and rejoined the NYPD. We pick up the story with Max driving the streets of New York, taking a call for shots fired at a nearby warehouse belonging to our old pal, Vladimir Lem, who is now voiced by Jonathan Davis. No, not that one. Investigating the warehouse, we actually find the sign from the Ragnarok club in the first game. Turns out Vlad bought the club and has turned it into a trendy new restaurant called Vodka. Shortly after, we encounter criminals known as cleaners dressed in overalls from the Squeaky Cleaning Company. We can now start making use of the amazing new bullet time mechanics, where weapons now feel more precise, ferocious, and lethal. And just like that, Max is back in the thick of it. We then see the familiar face of Mona Sachs. Actually, it's not that familiar at all because it's a completely different face model, but you get the idea. The cleaners escape the warehouse in a van that nearly strikes Max, but he's saved in the nick of time. His guardian angel this time is the very woman who he's destined to kill, Winterson. It's now revealed that she's actually his partner in the NYPD. We head to Vodka to speak with Vlad about the cleaners in his warehouse, but upon arrival, we find him under attack by mobsters led by our mutual enemy, Vinny Gognitti. We work our way through what was formerly Ragnarok alongside one of Vlad's trusted crew, who has a name I'm genuinely considering adopting, Mike the Cowboy, before reaching Vlad, who is pinned down by Gognitti and his goons. Vinny escapes out the back door. This leaves Vlad with something important to say. Alright, I'll actually stop with the corn jokes now. He says that Gognitti is now an underboss within the mob and that he's trying to take over the black market arms trade, and sees Vlad as a threat. Max bounces home, haunted by thoughts of Mona, and drifts off into a nightmare. In the dream, he wanders out of the twisted hallways of his apartment and finds himself within a morgue with the ever-seductive Mona Sachs. Max is awoken by the sound of a knock on his door by that very woman, but before they can speak freely, the building is stormed by cleaners. We now have to fight our way out of the building, but thankfully, his lovely neighbours help him with some guns and ammo. What's funny though, is that leaving his neighbours alive is completely optional.
This used to be a nice neighborhood.
We discovered that the cleaners had been observing Max for weeks. Every move he'd made had been observed and photographed. After surviving the hit, Max receives a message from Mona asking him to meet her at her place, an abandoned funhouse based on a cancelled 90s TV show. This was honestly one of my favourite areas in all three games. The creepy traps, eerie spooky detective music, bizarre voiceovers, everything about this place is just awesome. This isn't the last time we visit it either, and the next time we do is way more chaotic. For now though, we find our way up to Mona's place and just casually walk in while she's having a shower, and neither character acknowledges that this is fucking weird. She tells you that the cleaners are trying to eliminate anyone who knows about the inner circle, and that she has a contact on the inside that can give you more info, so the two of you make your way there, but the cleaners beat you to it. Finding a contact dead in his apartment is not exactly how we wanted to start the relationship, but here we are. You kill a load more cleaners on your way out of the building, and there's this one really bizarre moment where there's a bunch of them stood around a piano with a dead guy stuffed in it, while one of them plays Late Goodbye by Poets Fall. It's so shit that it almost brings itself back around to being brilliant. Taking the elevator down to exit the building, we're intercepted by the NYPD, and it's not just Max that's held up. Max is pissed that Mona has been arrested, but the claim is that she's wanted for the murder of a senator, so he's shit out of luck. Winterson is suspiciously interested in Mona's arrest, and she's seen questioning a witness during a suspect lineup. But when we ask him some questions after, it seems that she wasn't interested at all in the cleaner's involvement. Outside the room, we overhear Winterson talking about Max and Mona on a phone. Confronting her only gets Max a warning to back off a case, which, if you know Max, is just fuel on the fire. So he does what he does best. He breaks the rules. Down in the lockup, we find Mona in a cell, worried that the inner circle are going to have her killed before morning. Max brushes it off, until the station literally explodes.
Jesus Christ!
A bomb? That was a bomb!
The cleaners storm in, Mona hides under a bunk, slips out during the chaos, and vanishes before Max can even reach her. We head for her funhouse hideout again, and in a bizarre coincidence, Vlad just happens to be driving by and offers a ride. In his backseat, a full-sized cartoon mascot. He calls it his Trojan horse. Don't worry, that gets weirder later, but for now, we need to focus on Mona.
Why was I there again?
Wait. Wait just a minute. Talk to me.
What are you so afraid of? What do you want from me?
The things that I want. By Max Payne. The smoke. A whiskey. For the sun to shine. I want to sleep to forget. To change the past. My wife and baby girl back. Unlimited ammo and a license to kill.
Alright, that's enough of that. While girls are cool and stuff, Max's tragic libido has just led the cleaners straight to her front door. The defense of the hideout is an awesome section where we use Mona's supplies against the cleaners. Weapons, Molotov cocktails, and traps all come in handy, including the one behind me. Mona, by the way, absolutely holds her own here. Cool under pressure, sharp aim, fearless. Together, we push the cleaners back, and Max dives into the back of one of the vans to chase them into the night. The van leads us to a construction site that the cleaners are using for a base of operations. It turns out to be packed with body bags, armed cleaners, and what looks like a private militia of Timu Sam Fishers. After taking fire from a group of cleaners, they end up striking what looks like an ammo cache, which leads to a catastrophic chain of events, causing the building to explode, with Max just barely making it out alive. As he's trapped under the wreckage, we skip back in time and take control of Mona, who has probably one of my favorite weapons in the game, maybe all of the series, the Dragunov. It's a semi-automatic sniper rifle that is the perfect tool for tearing through cleaners. We see Max fall from the building again, this time from Mona's perspective, and begin providing cover and fire as Max frees himself. Another really cool section. In the distance, we hear the sound of police sirens drawing near after Max calls them for backup, something Mona was dead against, and we quickly see why.
She's one of them. She's here to kill me.
I'm doing my duty. She is a fugitive murder suspect. I'm taking her in. She resists, she gets shot.
Easy.
Back off, Payne.
This is what I see when I look back. These moments, blinding as snow, they kill you, change you. You die and live again, remade.
No, Mona. Winterson!
Gunfire! This way, fast!
Go! Go, run! Mona.
Detective Winterson! Officer down! He went over the edge!
With Winterson dead and Max clinging onto life, we slip into another nightmare sequence, haunted by Mona and Max himself in the prison lockup. The dream collapses around him with the words paranoia, insane and mad adorning the walls of the cells he sees himself trapped in. We then jump forward again to where we were at the beginning, standing beside Winterson's corpse in the morgue, cleaners in pursuit. We fight our way out of the hospital and make a beeline for Alfred Woden. It's time to get some answers. It's here we learn that the Inner Circle has been reduced to fighting mob wars, but not for Vinny Gognitti, for Vlad. It turns out that Vlad is the leader of the Cleaners and a former member of the Inner Circle, and he's seeking to eliminate his opposition in both the Inner Circle and within New York's criminal underworld. Armed with knowledge and a ton of guns and ammo, we head to Vodka to pay Vlad a visit, but the plot twists don't stop here. On a voicemail on Vlad's phone, we learn that Winterson was actually his mistress and was in cahoots with him the whole time. Side note, I feel like the word cahoots is a word that's not used often enough. Vlad is nowhere to be found at Vodka, and he's already en route to kill Vinny. So I think it's time we got ourselves involved in another mob war. Storming an apartment building, we now fight through goons from both the Cleaners and the Punchinello crime family. There's this really cool moment where Max convinces some mobsters that he's their backup and sends them out into the street to kill some cleaners. We find Vinny hiding out in a building, but his appearance is unusual to say the least.
Hey, you gotta help me. There's a freaking bomb in here. If I take the head off, it blows. Bye-bye, Vinny. You're a freaking cop. You gotta help me. The Russian tricked me.
Join the club.
I can help you get him. I can. I swear, you get me out of this and I can help you get him.
You've got yourself a deal.
We escape from the Cleaners and head back to Mona's place, in the hope that A, she's there, and B, she can help to disarm the bomb. But the welcome party at the funhouse consists of only one person, Vlad.
Dearest of all my friends, drop your gun, or the bomb goes.
I had a bomb ticking in my head. No amount of painkillers would disable it. Vlad and his men left after they were done with Vinny and me. I don't know how Mona came to be there. I can only speculate. It's clear that she was after Vlad.
Max.
She must have gotten there after he had left. Otherwise, he'd have been dead, and she wouldn't have come after me.
Mona storms into the flaming funhouse, finding what's left of Vinny in his suit, and it ain't a pretty sight. She then finds Max lying in a pool of his own blood. Moments before the explosion, Vlad dropped a bit of a truth bomb on Max. He says that Max has fallen for the killer, working for the man who got his family killed. Woden sent the army dossier to the district attorney's office that Michelle stumbled upon to expose Nicole Horn and the drug Valkyr. Max's family paid the price. The constant thread of betrayal penetrating every aspect of Max's life. As if learning this wasn't enough, he then takes a bullet to the dome, but it doesn't kill him because... reasons? Yo, if they did it in Kill Bill, they can do it here, okay? Mona arrests Max from his slide to the other side and hauls him out of the funhouse before they embark on their final defiant goodbye. They head to the manor of Alfred Woden to try and save him from Vlad. Woden's bodyguards have betrayed him, so Max and Mona are his only chance of survival in what is a truly bloody shootout. But there's still one more sting in the tail.
Here, let me. This way.
Mona knew the manor. She was working for Woden. Vlad had told me the truth. This is love. When someone drags you from the wreckage when you have given in, ready to just lie there and die.
I told you not to come here. It's my job to clear up this mess, and you're a part of it.
This is love. When someone, no matter what the cost, shows you there is hope, a choice, that you can put down your gun.
See? I can't do it. You're a bastard, Max.
This is love. Love hurts. I had been here before. Ground Zero.
Stop. The killing has gone too far.
I have only begun. It's better to reign in hell than serve in heaven.
You flatter yourself.
Demented fool!
I felt the rise of that old familiar feeling. I hated it. I welcomed it.
With Woden dead and Mona shot upstairs, Max begins the chase for Vlad, burying his henchmen as he goes, while the manor crumbles around them. There's an opportunity to listen to a few voicemails on Woden's machine, which help to tie the story together a little bit, but you're just going to have to trust that I've done a decent job of telling the story. Also, can we just talk about how great the reflections are for a game that is 20 years old? Up in the roof of the manor, Vlad holds his last stand, raining down bombs and Molotovs on Max from above. Max's dead-eye aim shoots out the structure holding the roof together after pumping Vlad full of lead, resulting in a pretty goofy end for a pretty goofy dickhead. Vlad dies in a storm of bullets and collapsing rubble. Poetic justice for a man who fancied himself a refined killer, but died screaming in the dark like everyone else. Max reaches Mona too late. She slips away in his arms as the sirens grow louder, as if the whole city is catching up to him. For all of the fighting, all of the blood, none of it changed anything. And that's where we leave him. By the end, Max has lost almost everything, again. But this time, there's no vengeance to chase. No conspiracy to unravel. Just the empty silence that follows survival. And in that silence, a strange peace, for now. The end of Max Payne 2 would mark the end of the franchise being developed by Remedy, and we'd have to wait nearly 10 years for the next one. But would it be worth the wait? Yeah. Max Payne 3 is a sequel that not only continues the story, but tears it apart in the process. The noir monologues and constant storm of New York are gone. What we get instead is sunburnt skin, slick clubs, corrupt cops, and enough alcohol to drown an army. This isn't Remedy's Max anymore, it's Rockstar's, for better or worse. The tone is more aggressive, the violence is louder, and it's jarring at first. But that's the point. This game isn't about the old Max trying to return, it's about what happens when there's no going back. The bullet time's still here, the painkillers are still here, but the world has changed, and Max has changed with it, reluctantly, bitterly, violently. He also has a new face again. The legendary voice actor from the entire series, the late James McCaffrey, takes on his role this time in what would be a masterful performance. Like the first two games, this begins with a flash forward to the end of our journey. And what the fuck are we about to get ourselves into?
So I guess I'd become what they wanted me to be. A killer. Some rent-a-clown with a gun who puts holes in other bad guys. Well, that's what they had paid for, so in the end, that's what they got. Say what you want about Americans, but we understand capitalism. You buy yourself a product and you get what you pay for. And these chumps had paid for some angry gringo without the sensibilities to know right from wrong. Here I was, about to execute this poor bastard like some dime store angel of death. And I realized they were correct.
I wouldn't know right from wrong if one of them was helping the poor and the other was banging my sister.
Back to the real world, and it's a far cry from the snow and shadows of New York City. Cynical, jaded, and acting as a bodyguard for the uber-rich Branco family, Max now resides in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Before we get into the bones of this one, I really need to point something out. I hated the visual effects that Rockstar used for this game. It's not like me to be overtly negative right off the bat, but these constant strobes, blurs, and scan lines were distracting for my entire playthrough. I get that they represent the disorientation Max is experiencing because of his vices, but I just found them really annoying. I'd be interested to know in the comments if you felt the same or if it was just me. Anyway, this first sequence introduces us to a bunch of pivotal characters in a really neat package. Raul Passos, Max's partner in crime and the man that got the job for Max in the first place. The Branco family, made up of 3 brothers in Marcelo, a douchebag party boy, Rodrigo, a successful businessman and his wife Fabiana, and Victor, a local politician, smoother than an oil slick on an iceberg, and about as toxic. Before the party can get into full swing, an elevator full of new guests arrive. The Commando Sombra, or CS for short, which means Shadow Command in English. With Rodrigo and Fabiana snagged by the goons, Max sets out to grab them back. And it's bullet time. While bullet time is similar in its mechanical execution in Max Payne 3, albeit with vastly improved visual details like destructible environments, it wouldn't be a Rockstar game without slow-mo scripted moments, would it?
It might have been stupidity or drunkenness, or maybe both. But before I knew it, I was back taking insane risks, trying to save fallen women.
If the other 2 games made you feel like a super soldier with lightning-fast reactions, this game makes you feel like an absolute god. Even granting you the ability to slow down time after you've struck a final blow to continue firing rounds into the shambling corpse of your enemy. Crikey. Another major new mechanic was the ability to properly seek cover in firefights, and a lot of the stuff you see here still exists even in the most modern of Rockstar games, and we'll probably still see it in GTA 6. Max saves Rodrigo from CS just as the police show up, as the seed gets planted for who this guy is. Passos describes him as a normal cop, from a different branch of police than the special forces that have shown up at the party known as UFE. Interestingly, the subtitles for the Brazilians that we meet in this game aren't translated into English, so we experience this just like Max, so it's really easy to feel disconnected from the people that we meet, and I think that feeds into the slow erosion of Max's identity really heavily. Rodrigo's safe, the cops are clueless, and Max goes right back to doing what he does best. He drowns the adrenaline in whiskey, just like always. The violence might stop for a night, but Max's spiral doesn't.
A couple of days later, it was back to work, ferrying the boss's broad and his dipshit of a brother out for the night so they could recover from their brush with mortality. Then again, what did I expect? These were the kind of people who went to nightclubs in helicopters. Fabiana had brought her sister along, presumably so she could show off just how rich and empty her life was.
Escorting Marcelo, Fabiana, and her sister Giovanna into the vibrant club, we discovered that it's not the last time we're going to be seeing the Commando Sombra, and this time, Max isn't so lucky in saving them. The CS fail in kidnapping both Giovanna and Marcelo, but Fabiana slipped through Max's fingers during a wild helicopter shootout on the roof of the club. After Max fails to protect Fabiana, the family receive a ransom note and agree to drop $3 million at a football stadium to ensure Fabiana's safe passage home. But before the deal goes down, snipers start raining down bullets on everyone on the pitch, poking a hole in Max's second favourite drinking arm. Passos finds one of the gang members bleeding out on a chair and interrogates him to find out who the snipers are, but he doesn't know. There's more to this than meets the eye. The ambushers are the Crasher Preto, or Black Badge, an outlaw paramilitary group that don't appear to be reading from the same hymn sheet as CS, and they steal the ransom money. Max and Passos fight their way back to the chopper and escape the stadium before deciding to pay a visit to the CS base of operations after learning that that's where they're holding Fabiana. Before we get there, we get a little more context on how Max and Passos came to be buddies, and it's just as violent as you can imagine. Max, hammered at a bar in New Jersey, gets hassled by the rich son of a mobster who makes the mistake of pointing a gun at him.
Round!
gun. He's got a gun.
Max being Max, he doesn't back down. Passos just so happens to wander into the bar at the perfect time to defuse the situation. Raoul recognizes Max and says that they were in the police academy together. Something that Max doesn't exactly remember, but that's not saying much these days. The pair continue to drink alongside a girl at the bar before being interrupted again by the rich kids, with the whole thing escalating in one split second. Killing the mobster's kid was probably not Max's greatest moment, but you've got to commend him for doing what he thought was right. While the pair fight their way out of the bar, this is the kind of problem that won't go away easily.
You, I want on the roof. You, I want on every doorway. And you guys, I want every fucking corner covered.
About that plan.
I'm coming after you, you motherfucking murdering bastard! Me and 100 angry greaseballs!
Who's that?
Anthony DeMarco. He's the father of the kid I just shot.
Yeah, that looks about right.
You killed my boy!
The mob and a team of snipers now camp outside Max's apartment to move in for the kill. After barely surviving an escape from his own home, we jump back to the present day with Passos en route to the CS base. This section was a nice change of pace as we sneak around with a silenced pistol, trying not to alert the guards. Annoyingly, it doesn't last long though, as you're left with no choice but to engage with the CS pretty quickly. We learn that they didn't actually care which member of the Branco family they got, they just wanted the ransom money, and with just a few seconds too late, the Fabiana was tied to that very chair. We follow her all the way to a boatyard where the leader of the CS, Serrano, takes off with her in a boat as Max is left with a severe case of tinnitus following another explosion. Passos picks us up and we chase after them in a pretty epic shootout, but once again, Max Payne loses the girl. What the fuck? I only noticed this while I was editing the video, but to say this game is not free of bugs would be an understatement. If you thought that this would be the low point in the series, I don't know what to tell you. Passos and Max head back to the Brancos to discuss next steps alongside the head of the UFE Special Forces, Armando Becker. Once everyone but Max and Rodrigo leave, they're alerted to intruders on the security monitors, but Moss from IT Crowd comes in to tell you the security systems aren't firing. You fight through a few waves of Black Badge while Moss reboots the security systems, which enforces a lockdown, but not before reinforcements arrive. God, this game's cool. Some of these sequences still blow my skirt up 13 years later. We deal with the henchman along with this big dude who wrecked me a bunch of times and head back up to Rodrigo to check on him.
Of course, he was dead. Clean, one shot, a professional job. I began to look for clues. Fabiana. Even if the man who employed me was dead, his wife was still out there. Maybe she could be saved. Maybe some good would... Picking the photo from the broken fragments, something caught my eye. Figures.
The entire facility has now become a blazing inferno, which makes you wonder, how many bombs were planted through this place? Max struggles through the wreckage to find a Black Badge soldier crawling for the door, one leg short. It turns out that Fabiana is being kept in a nearby favela, and they were never there to kill Rodrigo. They were there for Max out of pure retaliation. All of this, the chaos, the carnage, it followed him here. So who's using these paramilitary clans as a front to kill Rodrigo? This is both Max's rock bottom and his moment of clarity. After losing Fabiana and watching Rodrigo die, he's beginning to realize that he's been trapped in someone else's game from the very beginning. Max shaves his head and decides to quit the booze, preferring to stay sober so he can stare the person that eventually kills him right in the eyes. This isn't just a fresh trim, this is a funeral for the washed-up ex-cop hiding behind booze, painkillers and excuses. He knows now that no one's coming to save him, not Passos, not the Brancos, not even himself. So he does the only thing that he can. He cuts away what's left of the illusion and becomes the version of Max Payne that this world demands. Fresh from the spa, Max calls the remaining Branco brothers, Marcelo and Victor, and tells them of his plan to dive into the favela to rescue Fabiana. He eventually finds his way to this lonely skin joint in the middle of a poor slum where he meets Wilson Da Silva, the detective we saw at the beginning. He believes that Crasher Preto, Black Badge, have nefarious links to the Branco family after Rodrigo hired them to clear some villages on a piece of land he wanted to develop on some time ago. He thinks that Ufe and Victor are all connected to Max's plight, but he's not sure how just yet, and he also tells him where Fabiana is. This dude's pretty useful. After drawing a lot of attention, we're forced to shoot our way out of the club and head deeper into the slum, where we find out Fabiana isn't the only member of the family here.
Put the guns down! Let the girls go. No one needs to die, asshole.
Tomar no cu, seu gringo de merda. Vou matar sim.
Don't you kill her! Don't you?
Okay.
Another bag of ransom money disappears, and another girl Max is trying to protect dies. Even tragedy now feels routine. The cyclical nature of his life spins around again for another revolution. Another flashback follows, as we pick up with Max and Passos in New Jersey, and they're still on the run from the mob. Knowing he has to leave town, Max pays a final visit to the grave of Michelle and Rose, but as with all things Max Payne, he doesn't get to grieve for long. A melee of blood and snow erupts among the headstones as Max and Passos fight tooth and nail to escape the mob's crosshairs. But this shootout is a step too far, and the father of the son Max shot earlier has some words for us.
You killed my son! Dig! Now!
Max is then asked to dig his own grave, but manages to turn the tables before they mount their final defense. After this, Max is left with no choice but to leave New Jersey. Returning to the present-day timeline, the favela has become an absolute war zone, and not in a cool Verdansk way, in a Ufe killing or arresting civilians kind of way. We have to fight through an army of armoured police and even a helicopter in the claustrophobic favela, ironically named Nova Esperanza, or New Hope, with the Ufe making the NYPD look like the Hare Krishnas. As the war dies down in the early evening, we can see both the Black Badge and Ufe working together, exchanging bags of money for civilians who are then carted away in huge wagons. But where are they taking them?
Here was Giovanna and Marcelo. What the hell were they about to do to him?
Oh, Lord Jesus, it's a fire.
With Marcelo dead, we take out Burnt Face Man, now there's an old school reference for you, and grab Giovanna to get her to safety. By killing Marcelo in a way that would be attributed to gang warfare, they now have an excuse for the raid that's just taken place. But it's still unclear as to why it happened in the first place. For now though, we need to get out of here. Giovanna notices that someone is keeping an eye on her after she makes a call to Passos to come and collect them via chopper. But just before we greet some Crasher Preto guests, she tells Max she's pregnant, adding more layers of fear and risk to every encounter. Max successfully defends the three of them from an onslaught of enemies near the bus station before borrowing a bus of their own to make an escape, in a pretty crazy sequence aboard the bus that couldn't slow down. Passos collects Giovanna while Max holds back the waves of henchmen, but before Max can get to the chopper, they leave without him. Thankfully, Da Silva happens to be driving by just in the nick of time. Or at least, he's supposed to. I got picked up by a Waymo glitch instead. Nice one, Rockstar. Max rants about the nerve of Passos leaving in the chopper before Da Silva reveals something interesting about our curly-headed friend.
Yeah, I know. I thought you guys were very close.
We were.
Well, you know what? I did a background check.
Jesus.
I mean, I thought the two of you worked for Rodrigo Branco.
Yeah, so?
So? Did you get paid by Victor?
Victor? No.
Well, Raul Passos did. 6 times. Dating back to a few months before you turned up. He even paid for a ticket for him to go to New York.
Why?
I don't know, my guess is to meet you.
But why?
I don't know, maybe he liked you. Maybe he thought you needed a break.
That's funny.
I don't know, maybe he wanted some dumb gringo to come down here to shoot things up and maybe to take the watch for Rodrigo when he got shot.
I don't believe that.
Why? Because you're not a dumb gringo? Or because you are?
You know, I have no fucking clue anymore.
Max doesn't really want to hear this, but it's not the first time he's felt suspicious about their friendship. But it's only now he's sober that alarm bells start to ring.
Okay. Let me ask you something.
What?
Well, what is it that you really thought that you were doing down there in Panama? And don't tell me you're so naive as to think you were just down there guarding a woman.
I didn't know what to say. I had been so loaded in Panama, I could scarcely remember my own name.
A short flashback plays out where we join Max on his second job with Passos for the Branco family aboard a yacht in Panama. As usual, we find Max at the bar. A few too many drinks in, he stumbles back to his room and crashes for the evening before waking up to his alarm screaming in his ears and the passengers screaming in the halls. Invaded by guerrilla pirates, Max finds them stealing something from a hidden stash with no clue what was in there. He fights his way off the boat, discovering that all the guests are either missing or dead before he runs into Marcelo and Passos.
Hey, Passos!
At the time, I hadn't thought too much about this. I hadn't thought too much about anything. Now I remember it didn't seem quite so kosher.
What about what's-her-name? Daphne. Do whatever you think is best. I think it's best we try to go find her.
Yeah, okay, let's go.
Passos kinda wants to help Max find the rest of the guests, but when they do find them, Max is getting that sneaking suspicion that he's being used. Back in Sao Paulo, De Silva reaffirms his belief that the Brancos are not innocent in all of this mess, and that he thinks Marcelo and Victor were in Panama because it's easier to launder money there. De Silva believes that Max was an easy target as a drunk gringo action hero and was sought out by Passos to be the fall guy. He then takes Max to what he believes is the epicenter of all of this.
People go in there, large groups, under armed guard, but it isn't a police station, and no one comes out of there.
I just go in and bust the joint, get a warrant.
I'm only a cop, Max.
So you keep saying.
Either the dudes here wheel their trash around on stretchers, or something is seriously wrong. Max delves deeper and finds an entire room of injured captives, including Serrano, who he allows to leave. It's clear he's suffered enough at the hands of these animals. Max presses on to see why civilians are entering by the busload and leaving by the bagload. Then it all becomes clear. The operation here is a twisted organ harvesting ring, with their main donors being the people stolen from the Sao Paulo favelas. Not cool. Finding that the building is already condemned for demolition, Max gives it a helping hand by finding and planting explosives on the central columns throughout the hotel and confronts Crusher Preto leader Alvaro Neves before triggering them. In the commotion, Neves gets the upper hand on Max before Passos saves the day.
What are you doing here?
I came back.
I can see that. But why?
To save you.
Oh, yeah, real hero.
Listen.
Now, come with me, Max. To Brazil. Be a chance to play the fall guy in a plot that my boss's brother's hatching to profit from the selling of human organs. Yeah, it'll be perfect for you.
What are you talking about? I know nothing about human organs, man. Victor and Marcelo are trying to teach Rodrigo a lesson. Get him to loosen the purse strings on the family money. They pressured me into doing it. You wanna die? I came back for you. I did my best. I'm having a kid, Max. I gotta go.
Fuck you!
Sure. Later. Now, let's go. Hope this thing works.
With the waters further muddied, Max chooses to believe Passos and forgives him. The pair have one final heartfelt conversation before he and the pregnant Giovanna leave Sao Paulo for good in search of a new life, and more importantly, safety. But that doesn't tie up all of the loose ends just yet. De Silva tells Max that Becca and Victor Branco are behind everything, but there's too much corruption for De Silva to stop them legally. So it's time for Max to take the unofficial route, walking right through the front door of the Ufe police station. As you might imagine, Max loses a few hit points by doing this, but he's quickly back on top. His actions cause a full-blown riot within the precinct, as lots of other angry, wronged people escape their cells and begin taking out the UFO. We find our way outside where there's an armoured car tearing through escaped prisoners. Thankfully, we have a little surprise of our own in store.
Here comes your treat, you bastard.
The further we progress, the more well-geared the enemies get here, to the point where we're fighting full-on special forces folks. They even begin using laser sights and tear gas to try and take you out. We get confirmation that it was Becker's right-hand man, Bachmeyer, that took out Rodrigo, as we find the surveillance footage, which gives us another target for the hit list. He tries to rally his troops to stop Max, but they're no match for a fat bald dude with a temper, which is pretty damning in all honesty. Max is then finally able to confront Becker.
Becker! You disgusting piece of shit! I know everything!
Not everything, my friend. Let go of him, Max. Huh? There's a good fellow.
Well. Victor, I was wondering when you'd reappear out of whatever slimy hole you live in.
I'd like to just say, Max, I just want to say thank you for all your hard work, for my family, and for cleaning up that horrible mess with the Crasha Preto for us. You know I'm tough on crime. I give you a bonus, but I think you just frittered it away. Becker, take his gun.
This brings us to the final section of the game, as Max tries to stop these buttholes from fleeing the country. Max's disguise lasts all of about 4 seconds before another battle with the UFO begins, and this time it's accompanied by one of the most badass tracks in any game ever. Max's last hurrah. Pressured by a private army full of well-armed foot soldiers, he's back against the wall doing what he's done best his whole life. Killing with complete disregard for his own safety. Fighting through terminals, backrooms, and even a train, Max, bloody, battered, and desperate, finds Becker and Victor in a hangar, ready to leave the country in a private jet. A final gunfight ensues, as Becker shoots grenades from a launcher at Max while hiding behind a shield like a coward, which is all good until one of the shells has a hot date with a bullet.
This was it. It was almost over. So I guess I'd become what they wanted me to be. A killer. Some rent-a-clown with a gun who puts holes in other bad guys. Well, that's what they had paid for, so in the end, that's what they got. Say what you want about Americans, but we understand capitalism. You buy yourself a product and you get what you pay for. And these chumps had paid for some angry gringo without the sensibilities to know right from wrong. Here I was, about to execute this poor bastard like some dime store angel of death, and I realized they were correct. I wouldn't know right from wrong if one of them was helping the poor and the other was banging my sister.
Now there's only one loose end left to tie up. Taking Becker's grenade launcher, Max plays his final card, and with the help of De Silva, takes out the jet.
Wait, Max! No! Stop! Max! We have what we need on him now. Let him enjoy a trial and a spell in prison. Let him suffer. Trust me.
You know I walk. You'll walk with a limp!
Choosing to let Victor live and face a fair trial, Max leaves Sao Paulo for pastures new and hopefully a life that doesn't involve killing a billion mobsters. With the organ harvesting ring destroyed, Becca dead, and Victor found hanged in his cell, Max finally has closure from his eventful holiday to South America. But more than that, it closes the loop on so many other things. Across 3 games, Max Payne transforms not just as a character, but as a person being ground down by violence, guilt, and grief. What begins as a classic revenge story, a man with a reason and a gun, spirals into something way deeper, darker, and way more human. In the first game, Max is defined by loss. His wife and child are taken from him in a single night, and everything after that becomes about control, about restoring order to a world that's already burned down. He clings to his badge, to his mission, and to the illusion that vengeance is justice. But that illusion fades with every body he stacks, until all that's left is pain. Max ends the first game not as a hero, but as a survivor, and even that feels unearned. In the second game, he's trying to live again, but he doesn't know how. He's not chasing justice anymore, he's chasing ghosts. Mona becomes the embodiment of everything he can't fix. She's broken like him, dangerous like him, but she offers a chance at a connection, a flicker of warmth in the cold. But just as quickly as she arrives, she's gone again. By the end of Max Payne 2, he's not looking for peace. He's trying to hold on for what's left of himself. But every time he gets close to something that's real, it slips through his fingers. In the final installment, Max finally hits rock bottom. The noir rain gives way to brutal sun. The trench coat becomes a blood-stained shirt. He's older, heavier, slower, a relic, relatable. He's not pretending to be a cop or a hero. He's just trying to stay alive in a world that's already moved on from him. And in that bleakness, something unexpected happens. Clarity. Which is ironic because of all of these fucking visual effects. For the first time, Max sees the cycle for what it is. He stops running, he stops drinking, and he chooses to face it. Max Payne doesn't get redemption. He doesn't get peace, but he gets to live with it. And in a genre where most stories end with a bang, Max's ends with a slow release. A man walking alone in the sun, no longer trying to numb the pain, just letting it be. After everything, he's not chasing revenge anymore. He's not trying to fix the past or find meaning in all the bloodshed. He's just done. And maybe that's as close to a happy ending as Max was ever gonna get. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I know it's been a little while since my last one, but there have been a bunch of changes recently. You can probably see that the setup is a little bit different. The quality is a little bit different as well. I basically will be doing a lot more videos, a lot more frequently. So if you enjoyed this video and you made it all the way to this point, please don't forget to like and subscribe on your way out. And I'll catch you again real soon. Bye.